Welcome to the Dr. Stacy Show, where we're talking about all things faith, love, and wellness as it relates to raising our kids. I'm your host, Dr. Stacy, and today's episode, I am super excited to be having with us Baraka Barnes. He is actually a podcast host too, which is great,
Yep,
of the Be About It podcast.
that's right.
And what I love about this podcast is his vision is to help men rebuild themselves spiritually after failure so they learn to lead and not lose their family again. He is a true girl dad, a father of three wonderful daughters, and I'm super excited to have him here joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Dr. Stacy, thank you. I am honored to be here today. I have been looking forward to this moment for such a very long time.
Well, I was grateful, and I'm just going to tell everybody please tune in to our recording on your podcast where we had a great
Yes,
conversation.
we
And
did.
so be about it. But what I would love, and again, audience, this is part of why I love connecting with different people whose
Mhm,
hearts are to serve and to help people. So
mhm.
tell my audience your why. Why did you get started with the Be About It podcast?
Well, you actually kind of read it there just a moment ago. That is why. But if I can kind of go back a little bit too to give you more insight, um, I I was married for almost 21 years. And it ultimately, obviously, failed and ended in divorce. But the reason was because I believe there were a lot of things that God had given me to do over the past decades prior to my marriage, to meeting my wife, actually, and things that God had given me to do. And I always said, "Oh, God, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that one day." And one day never came.
Mm.
I never executed on the things that He gave me. And so, just right before I started my podcast, Holy Spirit said, "Oh, I had gone to the Lord asking because I needed to get another job. I needed to make some more money, Dr. Stacy. So I went to the Lord and I said, I think I want to get another job, but I'm not sure if that's what you want me to do. What do you want me to do? How do I go about making more money?" And the Father said, "I'm not going to give you another job right now. I'm not
Mm.
going to open the door for you to go get another job." And I was like, "Okay, why is that?" He said, "Because everything I have given you to do before now, you have failed to do.
Wow.
And now it's time for you to be about it."
Mm.
And I said, oh, okay. And I heard him loud and clear,
Yeah.
Stacy. And so that's why it was time for me to that's why that's how Be About It podcast got started. It was time for me to finally do something that God
Mm.
told me to do. And I saw my success coming there somewhere thereafter, after being obedient to His call.
Yeah, and that is so beautiful, and I do love the title "Be About It," right? Like
Mhm.
because a lot of people can talk about it, but right, even "be about it"
Exactly.
is a
Be about
it's
it.
a different action word, right?
It
When
is
we
an action. It requires you to actually do something.
Mhm.
Again, it's to sit there and to receive all of the great ideas. We have these grandiose, like the Bible tells us that God gives us witty inventions and good ideas, great ideas.
Mhm.
I forget exactly how that's worded, but um, He gives us these things, these abilities to do, these ideas to implement, to accomplish, and yet a lot of times the majority of us never do anything about it.
Mm.
We talk about it. We may to your point, we may talk about it and say, God gave me this or God said this and I'm going to one day do this, and we never do. So to
Mhm.
be about it is what we actually should be doing on a regular basis, no matter what that is.
Yeah, and one thing that you said there, even in your journey, right? We were talking pre-show about that process of going
Hmm.
from, you know, being in a situation where we felt like a failure, right? And saying, okay, Lord, how do I now move? Talk to us about the support. How did you transition? What tools did you use as a man to
Hmm.
move yourself to the be about it phase of your life?
That's a great question. First of all, I do not believe that we are able to do it on our own. If we were, I believe that I would have done it a long time ago.
Mhm.
It takes, I believe, someone else outside of us to assist us in getting to where we want to be. Sometimes, there are those who are able to do it themselves. I, I don't know. I don't even believe. I believe that those who say they did it themselves actually at some point went off somewhere to
Mm.
be alone, but they
Yes.
used someone else assisted them in that process
Yeah.
still. And for me, it was no different. I have to credit my sister. Shout out to Sharice Williams and the Sharice Williams Show. She's a
Oh.
podcaster too. Yeah, Dr. Sharice. But she introduced me to a brother by the name of Dr. Donald Morton, who
Mm.
we talked about a few moments ago before a
Mhm.
pre-show. And his he has a um, um, an organization, if you will, that he termed or titled Remand.
Mm.
And through this process, we learned to become remand. It
Mm.
is it's a bunch of tools that we learn,
Mhm.
learning how to be a leader in our household and in life, across life, leadership, and legacy is what we learn where we learn how to be leaders. And the same thing I also had to learn and did learn through my pastor. I told you before show we started recording, but I also meet with my pastor every single week. And my pastor specializes in making leaders because his ministry is all about um, the kingdom. And I want you to develop your leadership as a kingdom leader. It also spills into your natural life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been doing. I just over the last 3 years I've been with my pastor. Year and a half I've been with Dr. Morton.
Mhm.
Those two gentlemen have been very, very inspirational in helping me become who I am today.
I love that because so many men stay in isolation, right? We talk about men's health. This is June, and we're talking about men's health. And while we focus a lot on the physical health of men, like get your screenings, get your
Yeah.
checkups, we actually don't talk a lot about the mental health of men and
Hmm.
isolation. Like research says that men have higher rates of isolation even
Yeah.
as they age, right? Less
Hmm. Hmm.
friendship, less social support than women. And that isolation is actually what's hindering men from being their best selves. So I love
Right.
this idea that we're taking leadership principles and saying, okay, not only does it apply to maybe work or career, but leadership applies to how you lead your home
That's right.
and that family piece, but also having men that you can talk to, like you just
Mhm.
said, every week, right? Having people
Every
that
week.
you connect with
Correct.
is huge because so many men don't have mentors.
I know that, and we need them. They need them. It takes a community. It takes a community of men, specifically. I didn't have the privilege of having sons, but I know that it takes a man to raise a son, to raise a
Yeah.
man, to raise a boy. Uh,
And daughters. It takes a man to raise daughters too.
that
Listen.
too, yes, and that's no disrespect, by the way, to the single women
Yes.
who have raised
No,
young.
not at all. Right.
But yes, I know all of you are
Mhm.
doing the best that you can.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. Well, and I think right, even that statement, right, raises hairs for some people, right? We get
Right,
upset, and
right.
I say to folks, we understand, but even the fact of one good relationship, right,
Hmm.
mentorship, coaches,
Hmm. Hmm.
teachers,
Hmm.
we know make the difference in our children's lives, and we weren't intended to raise our children alone.
No,
And that's the other thing.
right.
Well, while that may be your circumstance, it's not ideal that even you don't have a village that supports you.
That's
Um,
right.
and so that's key. This
Hmm.
mentorship, and I love the idea of life, leadership, and legacy.
Uh-huh.
Talk to me or talk to our audience as a seasoned man now. Listen, I never say old, a seasoned gentleman.
Yes.
What do you wish you had known maybe those 20 years ago, right?
Hmm.
As
Hmm.
a man that you've now learned through all of this coaching and mentorship and relationships.
Man, I had a father that was I say present but absent is
Hmm.
how I describe it. He was there. He worked a lot. He worked all the time. There were times when my dad was home from work and I didn't even know he was there because he would be home sleep.
Hmm.
Uh, he did not present himself as leader in our home. And I love my dad. I have no disrespect toward my dad, no ill toward my dad, but the leadership that he that we need to use to be successful in guiding a family was
Hmm.
absent in my home. And I hate to put my dad on blast, but I have to let men know that uh, what it is that I went through, that I saw, or the
Hmm.
lack of leadership that I
Right.
saw. My dad was actually also is he is a veteran.
Mm.
And so I kind of got lost in why it is that, or how it is that you were in the military all this time and yet didn't bring any type of that leadership to the home. Why didn't I find, learn any of that? So
Mhm.
um and at some point I know that some guys are able to say, pull themselves up and say, look, this is what it takes, this is what you need to do. And I think possibly they must have had someone around them to see that there's a leader, and I want to,
Mm.
be like this guy. Somebody inspired them.
Mhm.
I had no one around me, no grandfather, no uncle, no dad, no brother, no older brother, nothing. And so, what I wish I had learned was how to be a leader earlier in my life, Dr. Stacy.
Mm.
I really believe it would have saved my relationship.
Mhm.
Thank God I feel I did a great job with my children early on, because I have a great relationship with my girls. I'm with them every single week, and we spend all day together on Sunday. And so, yeah, I wish, to answer your question, that would have been what I had learned early on instead of now, just learning it now.
Yeah. And one of the things, and we say, our parents parented with what they knew,
Yeah,
right? Like, and we do the same. I always tell
right,
parents, I'm trained because this is what I did for 20 years in school, right? 12 years of my schooling is all about development and
yeah,
relationships and counseling. But if that's not your career path, you might, have learned about something in high school around relationships. You might
right.
have learned something if you were in a college class about relationships, but we really don't learn
We
what
don't
our
learn it.
role is. And
Hmm.
this is where the church is so key.
Yeah.
And I love that we're talking about ministries that support men in a healthy way.
Uh huh.
Um, and I know there's church hurt for many men. In my first season, I talked to pastors and different men and about church hurt and about
Uh
the
huh.
idea that men have pulled away from church.
Uh huh.
Because even this idea of, well, you're not a leader in your home if you don't do X, Y, and Z,
Correct.
that has caused a lot of hurt for our men. When
Hmm.
we think about this term leader,
Hmm.
because that seems vague still to some people, right? And we want to, and again, some people, they got hairs right when we say leader, because they're like, well,
Right.
what do you mean men have to lead the home?
Right. Right.
We're going back to that kind of mindset. What
Hmm.
could you give us an idea of what we mean by men being leaders in the home, and what might that look like for folks?
Yeah. First of all, I'm a Christian.
Mhm.
And so leadership to me is, from a biblical perspective. Leadership is not me saying, you do what I say, woman.
Mm.
That is the old school style of
Yeah.
leadership. That is not biblical leadership. When we
Mhm.
talk about leadership, we're talking about, first of all, we use Christ as an example. How did Jesus lead?
Mhm.
What did Jesus do? What would WWJD, right? What would
Yes,
Jesus do?
listen. We're in that era, right?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so anytime I think about leadership, especially now, I go back to Jesus as my model. And so
Mhm.
leadership, first of all, looks like someone, and I'm talking again from a man's perspective or from a husband's perspective.
Mhm.
Leadership looks like a man who has, first of all, he knows what his purpose is. You
Mhm.
can't lead if you don't know what purpose is.
Yes. Mm.
A person who does not, a man who does not have purpose identified cannot lead. Where are you going if you don't have your purpose identified?
Yes.
If you don't have something that you're looking toward or moving toward, where are you leading? You're walking aimlessly.
Mhm.
And so, again, it's a miracle that I was able to raise my children as well as I did, because they have become successful in their regard, in their individual and respective regard. But that's what leadership looks like. First of all, let's start there.
Yeah.
And then once you have identified what your purpose is, which, by the way, I believe that our purpose is the same for every single believer, and that purpose is to grow, to expand the kingdom of God, by using His resources and relationships that He's given us.
Mhm.
That is our purpose.
Yeah.
Now, how we go about doing that is something else. That is our assignment. And each one of us needs to go about trying to figure out what our respective assignments are.
Mhm.
My assignment as of right now in this season is my podcast. I'm to reach men through this podcast.
Mm.
And so, and that's again why I appreciate this opportunity, because now it's not just my platform, but it's also
Yeah.
yours. And so I want to reach men and help them determine what their skill set is. And we do that through leadership. So that to me is what leadership looks like. And that, again, you can't lead if you don't know where you're going.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's so key. And for many men, I love the idea that you're talking about know your purpose.
Yeah.
I think about men who struggle with purpose and identity and
Yeah.
direction and knowing what they want. And
Mhm.
not to say that I always tease the college kids, you're going to change direction 100 times, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Hmm.
okay.
Right. Yeah.
Like, look, that happens when we're young, but at some point we're no longer young,
We're
right?
no
And
longer
he
young.
talks
Right.
about that, right? That we have to be like the wise when we get wise. We're no longer fed like babies, right?
That's
So
right.
so even the idea of having a group of men, because I do think it's very significant that mentorship for men is coming from men.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and churches, when we look at even just attendance, we're seeing the decline of attendance because
Yeah.
programming isn't focused for men. So something like this I love. And I love for that.
Be great.
Talk to me a little bit, and maybe I'm not going to say a success story, but maybe
Okay.
something that mentorship, not just your own success, but something that you've maybe witnessed in another man's life, or something that you've seen as the benefit of this coaching and mentorship for other men.
Yeah. I have seen. There's one gentleman that I know went through the process of remand.
Mhm.
He was already successful in business. Um, he had not been married, and just as of recently, uh, 2 or 3 months ago, I believe, he has found the love of his life. A woman who is, I believe, she's also a doctor, very successful. And so they now together, now he has a successful business, a successful relationship, and he is getting to the point where he is going to be able to be that philanthropist that he
Mhm.
wants to be. And so going through this process of learning how to lead and across life leadership and legacy, we become successful in all of these areas.
Mhm.
Uh, our relationship, I think we've heard for a very long time that behind every successful man is a
Mhm.
successful
That's
woman
what.
or a woman that has helped him get there.
Yeah.
We don't get there on our own. Yes, men do help us in
Mhm.
finding our purpose, but that woman also is very instrumental in helping us get there as well. So I think that after we learn how to identify, after we've identified what our purpose is, and we're now on that trajectory of becoming that more of a successful individual, I think that we would be looking to either get into a new marital relationship or
Mhm.
better the one that we're in. And so yes,
Yes.
that's the success that I've seen, and there are so many more stories like that too across the
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that platform.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the things we talked about failure in regards to maybe a divorce or marriage.
Yeah.
What other types of failures do you see men coming with, like
Mm.
burdens of failure, I should say, that men come to with this type of coaching?
Well, the biggest thing is not knowing where he's going. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's easy to run into a that proverbial wall
Mm-hmm.
when you are not when you don't understand what your purpose is. We see people come to the group, the organization, going, "Man, I don't know. I have this job. I'm working on this job, but it seems to be a dead end job. I don't know what to do."
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, again, lack of purpose or clarity of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People who come in, maybe they are already in relationship and they're thinking she wants a divorce, or maybe she hasn't gone that far yet. Maybe it's dead or it feels dead. This relationship feels dead. Why does it feel dead? Another example of failure. Um, um, the children, maybe their children have gone wayward.
Yeah.
You have there's so many different examples, Dr. Stacy, and
Mm-hmm.
these are examples of failure seems to be such a strong word, but at the root of it, that's what it is. It's we've gotten to a point where we feel that we have not fully accomplished something in us has died.
Mm,
Or it's not, even if it hasn't died, it has not been awakened,
mm.
perhaps.
Wow.
And that's what we need, Dr. Stacy. We need to figure out who we are at the core of our being, because if we don't
Mhm.
know who we are, we don't know what we're doing. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And
yeah,
I know in talking with men, the pressure,
yeah.
society puts pressure, families puts pressure. Talk a little bit about the pressures that men go through and maybe go through in silence.
hmm Yeah, the pressure is real. The pressure is real. I sound like I know a broken record when I say this, but again, it has everything to do with purpose. Everything goes back to purpose. I
Mm,
believe that if you don't understand what your purpose is, the pressure is, it
mhm,
seems insurmountable.
mm,
Because it's like, okay, so what do I do now?
yeah.
The pressure of life. I, okay, let me use myself for an example again. I went through periods of um, unemployment.
Mm,
Uh, my longest one was 12 months. I was unemployed. And when I finally regained employment, it was not something that I wanted to do. I
mm,
went into car sales. I never wanted to be a car salesman. I'm not a salesman. But I did it for 6 months until I was able to find something, no, 10 months, until I was able to find something different.
mhm,
Um, I eventually ended up at the Postal Service, uh, and became a mail carrier. And it was after I became a mail carrier that I eventually became, I really began to um, search and seek out what my purpose was.
mm.
Because at that point, I finally found stability in my life. And so, but the pressure of life began to fall on me, trying to figure out, where am I? And by the way, I was 40 when
Mhm.
that happened. I finally found that stability.
Yeah.
And so when I got to the Postal Service, and so the pressures of life began to hit. And But I thought that I didn't really feel it so much because I was really oblivious to what the pressures that my wife was feeling, but
Mm,
she felt it. And I was happily married, not understanding what was going on in that relationship. But the pressure, I believe, was more on her than it was on me, because I believed to your point earlier, I thought
yeah.
I was doing everything that I needed to do. I was doing
Mm,
everything that I needed to do. But the pressure is real, and we need
mm,
to understand that the pressure is real. We need to identify what those pressure points are, and we need to learn how to overcome those pressures.
mhm,
And leadership and um, mentorship, I believe, are key in doing that.
mhm. And as they say, 40 is the new 20. So even the idea, and I really want men to hear that you said, hey, I had to go through things to
I
find
did.
stability, to
I did.
find peace, to say, hey, and there has to be, I hate to say no shame in this, right? We have to talk about the real conversations of even
Yeah.
what you do every day
hmm
adds value to who you are and to your purpose. But
Yeah.
being able to recognize that many people, many men, right, we take jobs we don't want to take, but we do because of the pressure of family. We take it because we got responsibilities.
That's
And
right.
how does
Absolutely.
that weigh on us each and every day?
hmm
And that's why I think, again, men, you need to connect with men. And
With
I'm
other
just
men.
going to say that moms raising boys by yourself, you need to connect them to men, because
Yeah.
there is something about just having the conversation with someone that understands your pressure. Like, I love a good women's group, right? I love a
Mhm.
good therapy, even a good therapist group, like where
Uh-huh.
people
Okay.
understand the struggle, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's real. So, Baraka, as we're closing out, what would
Okay.
be your final kind of thought to men? What would be maybe something that you want men to walk away with from this conversation?
Well, Dr. Stacy, I think you just said it actually. I think that men need to be bold
Mm,
in finding men groups.
mm,
I think it's important. Our relationship, first of all, with our Father, our um, what is it? Our ladder. vertical relationship is
Mm,
important with the Father,
absolutely.
but our horizontal relationships are just as important. And that, what I mean by that is, it is important, fellas, that you find a man, if not a group of men, at least one man that you can live life with, that you can
Mhm.
experience life with, that you can share the pressures of life with. Um, some call it an accountability partner. I don't really think another man can keep you accountable because they can't be with you all hours of the day. But you do need a partner that you can walk through life with. And so that's what I want to encourage men to do. Seek out somebody that you can talk to, that you can share the most intimate things of your life with. And I do mean the intimate things, because you need someone that you can pour yourself out to. Sometimes it's your wife, but it's not all. Some things you don't want to share with her,
Mm,
and some or it's a significant other. But you need another man that you can pour yourself out to. So, what I would love for men to do is connect to other men.
mm. I love that. That's beautifully said. I love when you said live life, right? With someone.
Yes,
Find some other ones to live life with. Oh, that's so good.
yes, yes.
All right. So before you go, we have
Okay.
our Laffy Taffy joke of the show.
Happy
So,
Taffy. Looking forward to this.
so Proverbs 17:22 says that a joyful heart is good medicine. So here we go.
Okay.
All right. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Uh-huh.
Mm, I don't know, Dr. Stacy. Why do they
Oh,
take an extra
you're
pair of
going to be
socks?
mad at yourself at this one. Ready? Here we go. In case they get a hole in one.
That is a really good one.
I told you you'd be mad at yourself with that one.
Yes.
All right. So, Baraka, tell folks how can they tune into your podcast? How can they get in touch if they want to learn more about coaching and mentorship and just connecting?
Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Once again, I am honored to be here on the Dr. Stacy Show. Thank you so much for an opportunity to give folks a place to come and share
Mhm.
what they have learned or find a place to learn more. They can connect easily with me I'm on um, YouTube at the Be About It podcast, or Be About It podcast with Baraka. You can find me on across social media, specifically on TikTok and um, Instagram at Bar for Real. That's BAR, the number four, real. And or you can send me an email at the btrain at gmail.com. That's THEBETRAIN. If you want to get a hold of me and find out more about Remand or our church, which is Churches of Excellence Ministries.
I love it. Well, folks, before we go, we'll do our Love Our Babies Well send off. In Psalms 103:13, scripture says, as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. As we talked about today, this idea of fatherhood, mentorship, and men supporting one another, we are reminded, what would Jesus do? He walked with disciples.
That's
He
right.
discipled other men. Even John the Baptist, when we talk about ministry, served together. And
Yeah.
so thinking about how we need the idea of needing each other, and I love how Baraka said living life with another male is so key to the success of all of our men. Thanks so much for tuning in today to the Dr. Stacy Show. Until next time, faith is the foundation, love is our connection, and wellness is our daily practice. Love the babies well.
Thank you so much. God bless.